record now.
I will remind you.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Okay, then we're starting the Somatics of Water. Really happy to be here. For some reason, there's a lot of grief going on for me in my life now. My partner her father just passed away. And so she had to go back to where he was located and attend to the grief and everything surrounding death. And I was just sharing with Simone just before that death has this way of reorganizing everything in your life. You're just thinking about your relationships and, of course, it's just really centering yourself also in the grief. And of course, I'm not sharing this with my partner, but I was thinking, okay, when it's me, it's happening to me, what will I do? And how will I go back home? And all of those things. So I think it's a great workshop to invite more grief into our life, since grief is something that we don't really deal with in society because it's by nature is completely unproductive. So I'm happy to see you all here, however. And okay, we're going to start. So I usually don't start with introducing myself, but I thought maybe this is better that I introduce myself first for this one. So my name is Care. I go by they, them, theirs. I'm a Black trans non-binary trauma-informed care practitioner. I'm an artist, I'm a doula, and I work on remembering embodied experiences of awe, miracles, connection, and care. I always say that my work blooms at the intersection of Black interiority, somatic memory, and queer intimacies. That's my nice spot. I'm also a Reiki master, certified hypnotist, astrologer, ecosomatic, and transformative justice practitioner. Teach a lot of different workshops, but mostly they are always about trauma, how it affects our relationship to ourselves, others, and accountability, repair, consent, transformative justice. That actually doing workshops is my favorite thing, so I'm really happy to be here. So I wanted to check in with you all if you have the capacity to tell me how your waters feel today. I just shared about my grief today, and maybe you can share about yours. How are your waters today? You don't have to say a lot, but maybe just a word or two if you feel like it, that would be great. And it's also an invitation for you to drop into the body and feel how do I feel actually? How is my tummy feeling? How is my back feeling? How do my legs feel out of that? And if you want to share, I'm happy to read you. Hi, Fadesha, I didn't see your message from Berlin.
Hi.
Painful and unsure about your health. I hear you.
I met an osteopath yesterday who told me that he can't do any treatment over my body because he wants me to go for an MRI because they think it's a slip disc and it's a pain which I've had for a really long time. So now I'm just oh, I can't do anything until I figure this out first.
Yeah, life is really painful.
And I just moved to Berlin, so I'm just how do we do this here?
I can, if you text me after or send me an email, I can give you some tips. There would definitely, there's some solutions we can find together.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
Gabby's feeling sensitive, nesting, and dreaming. I love this. Very Pisces of you. I'm a Pisces sun, so feeling a swirl of emotions today: grief, excitement, anticipation, anxiety. I feel you, Lydia. Thank you for sharing. Damla says, kind of calm, relieved, but at the same time, I still feel some tensions in my body. And it's say pouring. Wow, so much water. I mean, we're 70% of water, so it makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Lindsay, for sharing. I felt really heavy today also. My waters feel really heavy. Okay, thank you so much for sharing. So we're going to talk a little bit about abolition. I'm not going to give you like even 101 to be honest, like definition and like landscape over abolition, just because there's so many like textbooks and like Angela Davis, like we have so much to read about abolition. So truly, and the workshop is not about this. So, but still it is about this, and it's the lens through which I see my work always, or I try to as much as I can. And so we're going to talk a little bit about this. I just wanted to also give you a little bit of a trigger warning. I'm never going to speak about violent situations, but I might name them just because I'm going to talk about transformative justice. And so I just wanted to give you a trigger warning that if some things might feel triggering for you, please do what's best for you in this moment. Maybe it's just like leaving the computer for 5 minutes, taking some tea, whatever, walking, hugging your cat, I don't know. But yeah, I really encourage you to take care of your own waters tonight. So abolition is really the practice of abolishing slavery in all its forms. It's quite simple. And it's really a practice that creates new landscapes for new visions, new horizons, a future in which we already belong, and a present worth living for. And the question is always like, if abolition is the horizon, the question is always like, how do we actually get there? I put this picture next to it just because I love this Bugs Bunny. For people who cannot see it, it's Bugs Bunny with like a poster that says the rich want a society based on punishment because a society based on care would render them obsolete. And recently I was actually reading an article that was saying that most of the people in the Congress, so US based, but are actually millionaires, almost all of them. And they were doing a study that was showing the link between people who are having more and more privileges, who are really into punitive systems, because they have this idea that if they are privileged, because they are worth it, basically. So people, for example, who are rich, they think I'm rich because I really worked for it. And they don't see all the conditions that allow them to work that much and to also be able to like gather so much resources. We all know now, I mean, it's not complicated to find out that in this society, it's not really about how much you work. Otherwise, the world would be different. But this is basically unsocialism. People really think that, the more they work, the more they will have access to privileges, social status. And so what it means de facto is that people who don't have that, they just don't work enough. So yeah, so that's kind of giving you the reality of the US now. Hopeful. I'm really hopeful, and I'm a Pisces, so you will see I'm hopeful. But I think my hope really stands on despair, to be totally honest. Like really difficult situations we're in on planet Earth. So I'm a Pisces sun, I'm a Sag rising, but I'm still a Scorpio moon, so I will give it to you straight. But still, I find that there's plenty of things that we can do. So this is the situation we're in now. And so the how do we get there if abolition is the horizon, and how do we actually get there? For me, it's transformative justice. So transformative justice forecasts a world that has yet to be realized. It's a world in which accountability is not linked to punishment, but instead to radical healing and repair. And just for you to understand, transformative justice is a framework that was created by communities that could not rely on the state, because there were migrants, people of color, people who did not have papers, sex workers, people who knew that if they would call the police, it would be even more harm happening. And so transformative justice, really the aim of transformative justice is to create solutions to violence that do not rely on the state, meaning we're not calling the cops, we're not relying on prisons, ICE, also foster care, for example, like those systems that separate more people, we're not relying on them. It's also a framework that is trying to not perpetuate more systemic violence, right? So like not vigilantism, not more oppression for all of us. And it's a system that is actively trying to cultivate accountability, resiliency, healing, repair, self-reflection for all. And I really mean for all. And what I mean by for all is also people who've done harm, especially for people who've done harm. And it's also a framework that is working to transform the condition under which such violence was even possible. This last point is really, really essential in transformative justice. That's maybe the biggest, I would say, difference between transformative justice and restorative justice. So just to give you like a quick definition, restorative justice, as it says, it's trying to repair and it's focusing on relationships. So for example, if I steal something from Simone, let's say, restorative justice is going to ask me to give back the thing that I've stole from Simone, and of course be accountable to my actions, say sorry, try to do repair. And this is it, restoring, right? So we're restoring to the situation that it was before. Transformative justice is saying, but the situation from before was shitty. Meaning, why does this person need to steal to begin with? And so transformative justice is radical. And just like Angela Davis was talking about radical, she was talking about the root, right? So we're really trying to understand, why does this person need to steal? And so we will look at all the systems around this person to understand why this person felt like the only option they had in this moment was to steal. Of course, I'm using this very easy example, but you have to understand that transformative justice was really created in response to mostly sexual harm. So that was populations who are thinking, this person has done harm, but I know that putting them in prison will not change. And if you talk to survivors of violence, most of them always say the same thing. They say, I just don't want this to happen to anybody else. And so a lot of survivors of violence doesn't mean that they're not thinking about revenge. And I think revenge is such an amazing portal. So I think revenge is important, really. But long-term, we know that like punishment is not going to change, right? What happened. And so if we really want to make sure that this doesn't happen anymore, we have to work also with the person who has caused violence for them to stop doing this harm. And putting them away in prison will not do that. We have enough data now to realize that it's not going to do this. So something also that I love talking about is with transformative justice is that it brings something together that I really think is important. So incidences and conditions. So I'm going to explain what I'm talking about when I'm talking about this. So incidences are, for example, sexual violence, eviction, deportation, war, domestic violence. Those are situations that happen in our lives. And the thing is that they're linked to conditions. So conditions of a society, so white supremacy, oppression, colonization, patriarchy, climate justice, meaning exploitative politics, racial capitalism, poverty. Those are systems, made system, right? Like people are made poor, they were not born poor, that really run the show in our societies. And the thing is, like, both of them, that's why I put them in a bubble, both of them, they really have an impact on each other. So conditions really create incidences. I'm always taking this example of you're in your flat and you hear your neighbors being violent towards each other. Although, of course, we could, go to those neighbors and try to change the situation. We know now that domestic violence is possible because of so many systems allow domestic violence to be possible. It's not something that happens in a vacuum, right? There's a whole system that allows people to be violent and often to not have really consequences based on this violence. And other people are treated very differently when they're doing like the slightest harm or like the slightest fault. So we know already that prison and all this legal system is not really about fairness. It's really like a descendant from slavery. And so that's why I believe in abolition. It's not that the system is broken, it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Is that we need to recreate a completely different system. And so what we often do is that we separate those two. And so there are people who will work on the conditions, meaning like activists, often they're trying to like change the laws and change the situations and the systems that we're living in. And then on the other side of that, to the left, there will be people who will be working on incidents. And so, for example, social workers, first-time responders. And there's not, to my understanding, there's not so much link between those two. But the problem is that those two things, they feed each other. And so I put an arrow in the middle, not just a line, because I really also wanted to emphasize the fact that the worse conditions get, the worse incidences get. Now we have enough data to prove that poverty is a direct line to violence. If our governments wanted to stop a lot of the violence that is happening in our communities, they could do it very easily, which is creating money, because again, money is created, right? It's just like numbers in a computer. And make sure that everybody has access to housing, to food, to water. And a lot of the violence that we see in our communities would be like eradicated. So again, like the systems that we know, they're not broken at all. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to. And so with Abolition, what we're trying to do is completely change the systems and start from scratch, which is scary, but it's necessary. And so with transformative justice, what we're trying to do is reverse this arrow and realize that those two things are linked. And the things that link those two things, so incidences and conditions, is relationship. And I know it sounds maybe like, wow, like relationship, this is like maybe big to say this, but even a lawmaker that is creating laws against trans bodies, it is still speaking to a relationship that this person has towards trans bodies. People who create laws against abortion is still speaking to their own relationship with people who can create kids, right? So really, it's about relationship. And so with transformative justice, the small is all, we're trying to really work on our relationships so that conditions cannot be the same anymore. Trauma is relational. If trauma happens in relationship, healing has to happen there too. That's the truth that, you know, I have to often say to my clients. Trauma happens to us in relationship. It doesn't happen to us alone in a room. And so if we want to heal, we have to find healing in relationship too. And so you might think, like, what's the link with water? I don't understand why I'm here. Well, this is my doula practice. We are, the first environment that we know is water, the womb. As we are born, as a newborn, we're 90% of water. As we reach adulthood, so all of us now, I guess, we're 70% of water, just like planet Earth, the body that is holding us right now. And as we reach, and if we reach old age, we're 50% of water. So we spend most of our lives as water. And water doesn't understand separation. If you drop water to the floor now, water will spread itself thin until it finds a container. It takes the shape of the container, right? And so, and water also, you know, all waters are always trying to reach the ocean. And so there's this understanding of like the small is all. We're always trying to, and with transformative justice, that's what we're doing too. Like the small harm that happens next to you at your neighbor's place, this is speaking to larger systems. This is speaking to the ocean of humanity, right? In other words, the personal is political. Said by Audre Lorde, of course. All water has a perfect memory and is forever trying to get back to where it was. Toni Morrison blessed us with this. And transformative justice is really radical, as it's trying to go to the root of the issue, right? The pain that caused the violence. And so again, any harm is really the memory of what has happened before, you know, it's ancestral wounds that come back to the surface of our skin. So using water as a technology to like change the system is actually smart because we're water. And the great news with this is that we are water, but also water is malleable. It's always changing, it's flowing, it's adapting, just like us. And so it means that we can adapt to, we can change. If you look at water, when I feel stuck sometimes I just stare at water for a little while. And then you realize very quickly that water embraces every challenge on its way. It's embracing what it's facing with so much grace. And also with enough time, it erodes the hardest rock. And so I'm hopeful enough that at some point we will reach the horizon of abolition through creating relationships that are accountable, that are safer, that are based on trust, and healing instead of punishment. And so that's where we go to somatics. And somatics is really asking this question: how do we transform in embodied and sustainable ways? If we're water, if we're malleable, we're bodies still, we live in a body, right? There's no transcendence. How do we transform towards a future in which we already belong? And we know we've transformed when our actions align with our values. We spend so much time here walking like heads, like walking around like stressed heads on the street and just thinking all the time. And the thing is, like, I'm always talking about this, is like we have to French press the things. It's great to have amazing ideas in the ethers. It's great to talk on Instagram about, no white supremacy and all of that. But we have to embody this, even within the smallest interactions with our neighbors, the people on the street, our coworkers, even the one we really don't like, like we need to embody this. It's not enough to talk about this. So somatics, right? To give you a quick understanding of somatics, soma comes from Ancient Greek. That means the living organism in its wholeness. So here we're talking about sensations, emotions, relational stances, actions and non-actions, internal narratives. So when I'm talking about soma, I'm trying to have more of a 360 degrees of the body. Science has made the body this meat suit, which it's not, but white supremacy. And so here we're really speaking to our emotional body, intellectual body, physical body, spiritual body, our relationships, our actions, non-actions, our thoughts, our psyche. We're thinking about all of this at once, right? And all of this creates our wholeness, the living organism in its wholeness. The body learns on yes. If there is one thing that you can retain from this, let it be this. The body learns on yes. This is something that I'm always working hard at with my clients, is that a lot of my clients come to my practice and this is, I'm not blaming at all. I'm doing this too, and we're all doing this because of trauma. Trauma has a way to take away our capacity to imagine, right? Like it shatters our reality. And so our imagination can be also feel reduced and feel small. And so a lot of people come to my practice and tell me, I don't want to be like this. I don't want to sound like that. I don't want to, I don't want that. I don't want that. And I'm writing this all down and I'm like, yeah, this is really important. I think it's important to know what you don't want in your life. I think it's really important. And also, what is the opposite to that for you? A lot of us don't want violence in our lives. I'm pretty sure most people don't want violence in their lives. What is the opposite to violence to you? Is it care? Is it laughter? Is it pleasure? Is it like, what is it for you? And I'm pretty sure if we would ask each other in the room, like, what is the opposite to systems of domination or white supremacy or whatever, racial capitalism to you, what is the opposite to that? Everybody would have a different answer. So it's really important to ask yourself, coming back to the coworker that you hate, she's so fucking annoying. What is it that you don't like about her? And what is the opposite that you would like to embody in your relationships? And how can you embody that? Not just like keep it here, but really embody that. So the body learns on yes. We're not with somatics, we're not trying to transform away from something. We are instead trying to transform towards something. And that's really important, because if I keep telling you, don't think about the pink elephant, don't think about it, you're going to think about a pink elephant at some point. And so for a long time for me, I was thinking so much about, I don't want to embody and reproduce systems of domination or supremacies. And guess what? And it's really easy in the society. Like I saw them everywhere. until I realized, okay, then I have to think to myself, like, what is the opposite to systems of domination, to supremacy, and then embody that, even in the smallest interactions with myself, with others, with the land. What does it look like? For me, it's care, but for you, it might be something different. So we're going to start with a centering practice. And after this, we will have another one. So two small centering practice. And the first one is actually, I call it elemental centering practice. We will be using the 4 elements, so fire, air, water, earth. And then the second, it will be just about water. So somatic practices are really thinking about the fact that we are what we practice, right? Like, we're not our values, but we are what we practice on a daily basis, which is our habits. And we're always practicing something. Inside every practice, there's a principle. So how do we, with this practice, embody a certain principle? And with centering, the principle that we're trying to embody is, how can I be present, open, and connected to what's important to me? And so we go from a good idea to a lived, accessible choice, or even a habit we can live from. It's not just a good thing in the ethers, it becomes French pressed, embodied. I love this practice. It's not mine, by the way. It's from Stacey Haynes, or Somatics in general, who is one of my teachers. I adapted it with the 4 elements. So I added some things, but it's not me who invented this. And I love this practice because you can do this, in the metro, going to work. You can do this while walking. You can do this laying down before going to bed or waking up in the morning. You can do this sitting down like this. Like, it's really an amazing practice to really staying connected to what you care about, which is the first thing that I ask people who come to my practice is not what's wrong with you, but what is it that you care about? And then we work towards practicing this more and transforming towards this more. So for me to explain to you the centering practice, I will have to explain to you how trauma is formed. So we have human biological needs or inherent needs. And often people will talk about 3: dignity, belonging, and safety. I talk about 4 because I, again, link them to the 4 elements. So dignity, connection, safety, belonging. So dignity, easy, relates to the state or quality of being worthy of honor and or respect. When we feel dignified, we feel like we matter. So easy example is Black Lives Matter. We just want to be respected. Belonging, feeling like we're part of something bigger that we can claim and that can claim us. Our relationship to our lineage and ancestry is part of belonging. So here is where water is. Safety is the condition of being protected from or unlikely to cause danger, risk, or injury. And connection is feeling seen, heard, witnessed intimately in our wholeness and mirrored in our emotional expansiveness, which creates a bond between people, ideas, places, or experiences. Connection can be emotional, intellectual, physical, spiritual. Often people ask me the difference between belonging and connection. For me, and I will always suggest that you find your own definition of those things. I think it's really important to know in your body, what does it feel like to feel safe? In your body, what does it feel like to belong? In your body, how does it feel like to feel connected? And in your body, how does it feel like to stand in your own dignity? But for me, the difference between connection and dignity is really related to time. Sometimes you feel connected to someone, to a stranger in the metro, because you both saw something funny and you call each other and you smile and you laugh and you feel connected to this person. Belonging for me feels like way deeper, like much more water, ancestral, like, the opposite for me to belonging would be displacement. So you're thinking about, migrant stories that have been displaced from certain parts of the world or because of war, for example. That's the perfect example. And so connecting those needs to the 4 elements, fire is dignity. If you look at fire, if you have a candle next to you, I would suggest that you light it up and you look at flames, the flame of fire. Even if you turn the candle to the side, fire is always trying to go up to the ethers. And so fire is really speaking to our sense of dignity. We want to stand in our dignity and stand tall in it, right? Water speaks to belonging. The first water we encounter is the one of the womb. And, you know, we are part of the womb of the womb of the womb of the womb before us. So there's really this like belonging to lineage and ancestry and memories, right? Like our bodies are 70% water, and hold all of the memories we store in our bodies, everything, trauma, joy, ancestral wounds, everything. Earth is safety. Earth is the element that keeps Moses' shape. Earth says no to us, not because it's mean, just because we need to walk on it. Water says yes to us, but we can't walk on water. And earth is really this element that is supporting us. So it speaks to safety. And then air or the wind is connection. I'm always thinking about the wind brings some seeds to another space in nature. Nature loves diversity. It never creates just one field of like sunflowers and then one other field of whatever. It brings shit together because together we're stronger. You know, there's no such thing as weeds. You know, even the invention of weed is like such a colonial thing. Like some people are weeds to exterminate through eugenics. Some plants are weeds, you know, and some others are better. This is just an invention. This is complete invention. So for in this practice, air speaks to connection. So this is the centering practice. We will basically experience our somas in different direction, and I will guide you. For this, you can stand. The best is to stand, but if you don't want to stand, you don't have to. If you can't stand, also, you don't have to. You can also lay down if you feel really tired and your body is telling you, hey, I would love to lay down. You can also do that. That's welcome. I will lay down and I will guide you into this elemental centering practice. Is there any question before maybe I should ask, or anything that someone wants to, maybe a comment or like something, or can we practice together? No? Okay. It feels like there's no questions. I mean, there will be time at the end for questions, if anything. Cool. So I will invite you to stand if you can, if you want to. And we will start the practice. So, with my house shoes, feel the ground under my feet, that will be great. First is just, you know, standing in the body, realizing that, oh my God, I live in a body, that's true. I would suggest that maybe I stop sharing. That would be the best. You can see me all. Cool. And checking in first and foremost with the body. So checking with your feet in the ground, checking how your tummy feels. If maybe there's some things, tension in the body, it's the moment to just notice them. No need to fix. There's no fixing in my practice. Everything is a practice of liberation. So just noticing what's there. And we will start with dignity, fire, energy. So length, right? So here I will invite you to really stand on your 2 feet and think or organize yourself around length, right? So this direction, if you see me. So starting from the feet and going slowly up towards the head. So moving up, just like the fire, just like flames towards the skies and down to the ground. Bring your attention to the length, and by doing so, settling down in your body, saying your weight down and letting yourself lift up. So shoulders back, neck straight. We're crunched over on our phones all day on computers. So this is the moment to just like, and bring more space between each and every vertebrae. And one of the ways that we look at length is that we are centering our own dignity and the one of the people around us. what I love with fire is that it's the only element that is really teaching us about interdependence. If you've made a fire ever, you know that you can't leave fire alone. Fire needs to be witnessed and you have to feed it all the time, right? And at the same time, fire is this element that cannot be caged. If you try to cage it or, like tame it as much as possible, it will either burn you or die. So really fire is about interdependence, is I need you to tend to me, but also let me be free. And with dignity, this is what we're trying to do, is recognize my dignity and don't try to step on it. Otherwise, anger is taking over, fire is on the body. And anger, I define anger as something shared has been broken, something valuable is broken. Most of the time it's our dignity. So you're thinking about resistance like Black Lives Matter, as long as there will be oppression, people will be mad and fight back, right? So standing our dignity, and by doing so, recognizing the dignity of others, knowing that your dignity depends on the dignity of other people and their dignity depends on yours too. And here I will invite you to connect to the spirit of fire. So maybe connecting to, where is your fire? Where is your dignity center? For some people, it's the heart. For some people, it's the stomach. For some people, it's the chest. I find that when we're angry, there's a lot of like, oh, here, we feel it here and we just like walk around like this. So maybe it's around here, dignity center. Maybe it's your feet. Maybe it's your like under the belly, whatever feels right. There's no right or wrong in this practice. This is a practice of liberation. And so connecting to the fire inside of you, to the flame inside of you, your dignity center. And connecting to this flame that gets bigger when your boundaries are crossed. And really anger is this protector, that is telling you absolutely not, I'm not going to be treated this way. Fuck no. So I always thank anger because it allows me to see that I matter. And visualizing here with your third eye, a cord traveling from your dignity center to the ethers, up to the skies, and attaching to the sun so that fire can be resourced, right, by the fire of the sun. And if it's night for you, you can also attach to the moon, why not? Okay, now feeling the full width of your soma. So here in this direction, width, right? This is the wind connection. So here I will invite you to like just play with what feels right in your body in terms of width. We tend to like shrink a lot because society is telling us to. And so here I would invite you to like take up the space that you want. And like try, you can, of course, put your arm this way like I'm doing, but you don't have to also. But just trying to feel what it feels like to really take up the space that you want to. And when you go down with your arms, just taking up the space of your whole width, your whole soma. We tend to scan the body up, down, or down, up. And so here we're going to try to scan the body from the left shoulder to the right shoulder. How does it feel for you to scan the body this way? And here with the spirit of the wind, we are connecting to connection to others in our communities that are breathing with us. So here we could think about all of us in this workshop, being connected to all of us across timelines. If you watch this workshop later on, just being connected to all of us. If I open my arms, I will be able to touch you all, right? And so air or the wind is really speaking to connection. I was reading one time about COVID and how the air that I'm breathing now is going to be on the other side of planet Earth in 1.5 years. And so if COVID has taught us something, is that we're all connected. The air that I'm breathing now will be soon in New York, potentially. Or the other way around. I mean, both. So air is really allowing us to connect to connection and the fact that we all depend on each other. And now connecting to the spirit of water. So here will be depth. So from the back of you to the front of you, this direction, right? And with this, I'm always thinking about when I'm looking down to my feet, you know, when you're at the ocean and the ocean is just going this direction to your feet, from the front of your feet to the back of your feet. This is the direction we're gonna work with for water. And here we connect to the depth of the soma, front to back. So we start with the front of the soma, so at your back, and we're speaking to ancestry here. So visualizing all the people who have made you possible. You know, when you stand, you're never standing as one, you're standing as 10,000. There's plenty of people who are not here, perhaps in this physical timeline, that have made you possible. And so feeling their presence behind you. Crossing the body, staying with you just a tiny moment. And bring your attention to the front of your body. And here we're thinking about all the people that you want to make possible in the future. And by the way, when I'm thinking about the people who have made you possible or that you want to make possible, it doesn't have to be blood people, like blood supremacy is not real, but it can be chosen family. For queer people, it's extremely important. Our chosen families are everything often. So thinking about all those people that you want to resource in the future. And finally, connecting to the earth, and drop your attention here to right under the belly button, this part of the body. And focus on what brings you safety here. One of the ways that I connect to the earth inside me is, and it's because of my work as a doula, I always visualize that when I was brought to this world, my umbilical cord was cut from my parent, and then it attached to planet Earth, right? We belong here. That's our home, that's planet Earth. And so visualizing this umbilical cord traveling to the depth, to the floor now, and traveling to the depth of the earth, and attaching itself to the center of the earth, however that makes sense to you. And feeling anchored in this feeling of safety that we're supposed to be here on planet Earth. Being embodied is the only way for us to realize ourselves. And usually at this moment, this is when we speak our declaration, and this is not something we're going to do tonight, but we can speak an intention. So you can have an intention for this workshop, and that could be, I want to be present in my body, or I want to connect to my waters. Whatever feels right for tonight. Doesn't have to be super complicated. Okay, and that's the end of the practice. And I mean, this practice I explained to you, so it's longer, but truly this practice can be super, super short. You can do it like very quickly, and it's over. And you speak your declaration in the morning, your intention for this day, whatever feels right to you, and you can then move on to your day. So I love this practice because it's just, again, reminding you of connecting to what's important to you. Okay. If anybody wants to share their intention for this time together, I would love to hear. If something came up to you, my intention for this workshop is to allow myself and my waters to guide me. Sometimes I'm a little bit of a control freak. Abby says to allow my waters to flow with less resistance. I love this. Yeah, that's what water does. If you hear some noise in the background, I'm cat sitting and those cats are wild at night. My intention is to be open new ways of understanding and embodiment. I love this. Thank you, Simone. Edith says to be present in my body and with whatever arises. I love this. Ella says, I relate to your intention and allowing them without the resistance of oppression and repression. That's beautiful. Yeah, it's so funny how, like, we're already in this water zone thing, like allowing, flowing, no resistance, that's beautiful. And I would suggest, Ella, that maybe you reframe or think about how you could reframe this sentence. If you said without the resistance of repression, what would be the opposite to that? Again, coming back to transforming towards something instead of away. And of course, this is completely private to you, but I would suggest maybe that you think about this. That would be also nice. Okay. Thank you for sharing, y'all. So now we're gonna practice. Do this somatic practice about water. I have to say, y'all, I'm a Scorpio moon, so I will always start with sorrows. And I always say to my clients, to start with our sorrows is to carve out more space for our joy. So I can give you a quick example that happened with one of my clients once. Clients came to me and was like, I cannot orgasm. And my first thought was like, there must be some grief. And then we worked together, and there was indeed a lot of grief stored in the body. And the thing is that when we don't allow ourselves to express what is there already, we tend to tense up, right? Like we walk around like this, and we're just like, and so, of course, when this happens, we cannot feel grief, but also we cannot feel joy. And pleasure has this thing of like, like there's the climax, and then all the muscles, become like really relaxed. And so becoming relaxed was scary for the body of my client, because then when they would be relaxed, then the grief of joy the waters of joy could come in. And so the body was like, no, I cannot be relaxed. I cannot have pleasure, because then the grief will come on. And so we did a lot of grief work, and turns out they could after this orgasm. So I'm kind of convinced now that, like, to start with our sorrows is to carve out more space for our joy. Okay, so for this we will stand. I will stand. You can also do this laying down. This is, again, your choice. We will practice agency tonight as much as possible. I will change my computer, because otherwise you will not see me, I think. And I hope you still hear me. I will make sure that you hear me. Working on Zoom is weird, y'all. Okay, so you can take also like a bio break if you need to, or drink something. And we will slowly start. So this practice, this is not really somatic practice. It's more of like a somatic awareness experience. And the best would be that at some point you can lay down. So I have a yoga mat under me, but if you're on your bed, for example, or like, I mean, I guess the mattress on the bed, I live in Berlin, so people have mattress on the bed, like mattress on the floor all the time, but maybe you're an adult and you have a real bed. But a yoga mat would be great on the floor, or just like a towel or like a...
Hey, Kier, is it possible, could you take this screen down and then I'll spotlight you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yes, that would be much easier.
Thank you.
Great, thank you for saying this, Simone. I didn't think about it. Okay, now I see myself more also. Yay, okay. So can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Cool. So again, the best would be that you have something on the ground. Yeah. So we will, and at some point we will get to the ground. But again, if this is not accessible to you, you can totally do this practice sitting. So don't be scared to just listen to your body if that's not possible for you tonight. We will start with just practicing being on a cloud. And so I want you to arrive in your body and just be on the cloud. I know that sounds weird, but you know what? Planet Earth is weird, y'all. Life on planet Earth is weird. So just allow your limbs to be a little bit heavy and as if you were just sitting on a cloud. And so for me, my knees tend to be softer and it feels like I'm just really just flying around. Maybe you get to look down planet Earth and be like, wow, this is really ghetto out there. I'm so happy to be on a fucking cloud. And just allow yourself and your body to be less dense. And at some point, because we're talking about water, we will want to be embodied in water. And so imagine becoming a drop of water that will at some point reach the earth. And so starting to feel really heavy in your body. And so if there's places in your body that feel heavy because of this day, for example, your back or your shoulders because you've been working on a computer, just allowing those places to be heavy as they are. If that's your feet because you walked around all day, just allow your feet to be heavy. Agree to what is happening in your body without resistance. And so we're going to start dropping to the floor slowly. So imagine this drop starting to reach for the earth, going down as the rain and slowly going down. And so here I really want you to imagine being this drop and just feeling all the gravity in the world and reaching for planet Earth. And here I want you to feel as if you're becoming kind of a ball going down to the floor. And slowly, slowly, we will reach for the ground. And I invite you to just notice what is happening in your body as you're reaching for the ground. There's no right or wrong in this practice, so just laying down on the floor. And here we will be resting on the floor for just a second. And allowing your body to lay down on the floor on the side. And visualizing your body as the waters that you are. And so here, joining perhaps a pond or a river, a small body of water of your choice. And notice the colors, notice the movement, if there's any in your waters. just joining this small body of water, however that makes sense to you. And like all waters, we're trying to reach the ocean, right? We're trying to reach the bigger body of water. That's where we belong. And so slowly expanding. And so you can turn to maybe the ceiling, if that feels comfortable to you. And expanding your limbs, floating as the water that you are. And if this feels good to you, you can completely expand. I definitely need some expansion today. I felt small and vulnerable. And so allowing yourself to feel the possibilities of your water. And remember, the waters always mirror the skies. And so allowing your waters to mirror the skies, however that makes sense to you. And now slowly feeling heavier and heavier on the ground. Water is always absorbed by the earth, right? And so this is what we're going to do now, being absorbed by the earth, however that makes sense to you, feeling like your back is completely glued to what is supporting you now, and feeling like you're being absorbed by the earth. And as you get absorbed by the earth, maybe joining the limbs together and allowing the limbs to just drop your back closer to or deeper into the earth. And here, under the earth, a small body of water is created. And this is what bodies do in general. When they cannot be on planet Earth, they tend to be under, they tend to live in the background. And under the earth is where the best revolutions are created, but also where violence flourishes. And so visualizing yourself in this dark, creative, imaginative space, the earth, the great composter, where your waters absorb the nutrients that they need, the rest that it needs to become the waters that you are. And in this moment, I always think about an anchor. You know, this anchor in the ocean that is supposed to bring safety to the boat that is trying to anchor. And the anchor really is about two things. Of course, the anchor, the depth of the ocean, and also the line, actually, that allows us to stay floating on the water, but still being safe. So anchoring in the depth of your waters. And when you feel like you've reached for the depth of your waters, turning to the earth. So face to the earth. And here resting, just a second, if that's accessible to you. And listening to the depth of your ocean.
What is it that you need here? What is it in your relationships that you are not asking, that you really need? What are the conflicts that you need to take care of? What is the care that you need that you're scared of asking? And from here, taking a moment to just notice what comes up to the body without judgment, without trying to fix, just allowing. And from this place, allowing your arms to really anchor in the soil. So you can spread your arms and your legs like a star in the ocean. There's probably plenty of stars in the ocean that are doing the same as us right now. And knowing that you are grounded and you are supported. There's always the earth under you supporting you. And so even if it feels sometimes lonely because of the systems that we created, individualism, capitalism, know that you are supported. Beyond change, you are taken care of. And so taking in all the care from the earth in the body, however that makes sense to you. A huge part of care is actually allowing ourselves to receive. Takes a lot of discipline to stay tender in this society and soft. And from this place, we will take 3 deep breaths. So breathing in and twice as long out. And breathing in and twice as long out. And one more time, breathing in and twice as long out. And saying thank you to the earth for supporting us and composting what needs to be composted. And whenever you're ready, you can slowly come back. Maybe you start with child's pose, and you can stretch also. And come back to the Zoom whenever you're ready. Take your time. Maybe you need some water.
Hey. Welcome back. And this is the end. I wanted to end on this practice just in case you feel and realize how tired you are. I'm pretty sure you are tired. We're all overworked and underpaid. So if you want to go to sleep right after this, then you can. I would love to stay in touch. There's all my links on this screen. And I'm really happy to hear how this landed for you, if someone wants to share, of course. Thank you. I was really happy to be part of this beautiful water school. Thank you, Lydia. I'm happy that was nourishing for you. Oh, I'm happy, Cassie. And if anybody has a question also, I'm happy to respond, or if there's anything that folks want to share, happy to hear. Thank you all. Happy that you feel nourished, Lindsay, too. Keep forgetting what the earth can do. Yes, absolutely. The earth is the great composter. Laying on the ground and becoming water felt really important. I could feel the movement of the water in memory the water I was channeling becoming. That's amazing, Gabby. Thank you. Yes, and if you want to give donations, I'm happy to receive them. I love the way you wove the elements into the first practice as well. Thank you so much, Kara. Thank you, Lydia. Yeah, I find that working with the elements is so much easier for us to like embody, because everybody, all of us, if we want to be able to breathe on planet Earth, we have to be in contact with the elements, right? So I find that because I'm an astrologer, and I realized really quickly that astrology sometimes is not accessible to a lot of folks. Not everybody has access to the exact time of birth or even location. Working with the 4 elements for me was a nice way to still make my work accessible. I really love the elemental embodiment. I need earth and fire more, even though I'm a Sag rising too. Yeah. I feel that earth and fire often are hard to feel, for sure. Well, then you can do some magic. Dignity, safety, absolutely. Yeah, that's really hard to find in this society, for sure. Okay. Well, thank you so much, all of you who joined. I was really happy to share this with you. If you want also that I share the elemental practice, I can share it with you. Just drop me an email or something, or like an Instagram message, and I will. Thank you, Gabby. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Simone, for inviting me for this workshop. I'm really grateful.
Thank you. I'm gonna put your website and your Instagram in the chat. I wanted to say thank you also. I have thoughts in my mind, but also my body's speaking to me. And I really appreciate this elemental embodiment. It's really helping me make connections, both mentally and physically, like all of it, like spiritually. I really love how you took us through this journey of learning about abolition and the connections to, I'm looking at you, I know my device, connection to water in our bodies and just being together. That's how I feel, just like that. Just
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. I really receive it.
yes. And yeah, just want to share again that if you are able to in a financial position to donate, I really encourage you to. I put CARE's PayPal link in the chat, also their website and Instagram. And yes, do you have any, does anyone have any last words?
Just be
Words,
well.
thoughts, gestures? So the recording will be shared. We haven't talked about like if it's going to go on YouTube or not, but it will be shared. So no worries.
Yes, you will be able to watch it again if you need.
And I'll, that link will probably go out through a follow-up email. So
Yes, I can share the slide for sure. I can maybe send it if Simone, you are doing like a follow-up email, I can send it to you and then you can send it to folks if you want.
yes, that sounds great. The slides are a whole vibe too. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
I hope you have a great night.